Hello everyone, and welcome to the latest Digital Transformation Viewpoints podcast from ARC Advisory Group. My name is Bob Gill, ARC General Manager for the Southeast Asia region, and I'm based here in Singapore. And today I'm pleased to have with me Boris Marrone, who is Vice President and Head of South Asia and Southeast Asia at AVEVA. So let me extend a very warm welcome to you, Boris, and thank you for being with us here today.
Thank you, Bob. Happy to be here, and I really look forward to our conversation.
Good. So perhaps we can start by you telling us more about your current role at AVEVA.
Sure. I lead the AVEVA business in South and Southeast Asia, so quite a number of countries in this part of the world, where I have the privilege of working with over 90 very talented and experienced professionals, where we basically help industries in a variety of sectors transform themselves. So I'm based in Singapore. This is what I call home. Been here for the last 8 years, but really been working in and out of APAC for over 20 years. Prior to AVEVA, I was with Siemens Industry Software for over 18 years in a variety of leadership roles in a variety of industries. I've had the privilege of working in industries like automotive, aerospace and defense, general manufacturing. But I would say the last 2 years with AVEVA have surely been the highlight of the last many years.
Okay, so in terms of your career since joining AVEVA, which was in 2020, what were the main aspects and highlights of that so far?
Well, quite a number. It's been an interesting journey, fascinating journey. I would say, first of all, I get to work with an amazing team in AVEVA. Every day I'm perplexed by the amount of drive, talent and experience that floats around the company. But I will also highlight it's given me an opportunity to work with a number of leading companies in the industry, trendsetters, PTTEP in Thailand, Pertamina in Indonesia, Petronas in Malaysia, IOCL in India. And these are all large companies that have high on their agenda, their digital transformational roadmap. But I would also say that the way we work with AVEVA, right, we don't just bring the solution and expertise to the customer, but we look at it more as a partnership. We learn from them and they learn from us, of course. And this makes everyday life in AVEVA extremely exciting. And I also think the numbers speak for themselves. I mean, in this part of the world, we've grown 46% year over year. So it's been an amazing journey. And I would say that I certainly wouldn't want to be anywhere else at the moment.
Okay, that's good to hear. Well, 46% is quite impressive over the last year. That sounds good.
Yeah.
But looking back at the last year, 2021, I would guess that one of the major events for the company would have been the completion of the $5 billion OSIsoft acquisition, and that was, of course, very well publicized. And I know there was a lot of interest out in the industry about this acquisition. So perhaps you can remind us about the rationale behind the acquisition of OSIsoft, and also how the integration is proceeding.
Yeah. So correct, as you mentioned, it's been an important event for us last year, but probably the last many years, because this has been in the making for quite a while. And to answer your question, the rationale or the thought process behind this really was to combine our best-in-class portfolios to meet the expanding information management need that industrial customers have nowadays. So it really combines OSIsoft's world-class data management system, which is very known into the industry, together with the AVEVA long-standing industrial software package. And by doing that, we unlock what we call performance intelligence. And you would have probably already heard of this now because it's been heavily publicized. Performance intelligence is about connecting information, artificial intelligence, together with human insights. And that's really what enables teams to come together, make accurate decisions, make fast decisions. And for industries, this is really the key to success, the key to sustainability, the key to growth. Companies have leveraged and possessed vast amounts of data, but now it's about how do you use this data, what do you do with it, how do you bring this to use. I'd also like to say that the timing for this acquisition was very good. We found that about 85% of businesses, based on research we've done, really plan to increase their investments in digital and transformation over the next 3 years. And they're doing that to tackle a couple of very important topics. We all know climate change, but companies want to embrace automation. They want to unlock the benefits they get out of this data that they have. A couple of years ago, companies shifted into a mode of acquiring data, and they've gone through that, and many have been successful. Now it's about what we do with this data. And we all know that the world has transformed in the last 2 years. So businesses have shifted to this innovation mode. They use cloud, they use artificial intelligence to connect their teams, to optimize the performance. But in this new world, I would say that success really relies on, again, as I mentioned, how accurately, how timely, and how you use this accessible data. And I believe at AVEVA we're very uniquely positioned to support this by taking advantage of the solutions that we have.
Okay, so Boris, you mentioned this concept of performance intelligence just now, which I understand is about combining information, artificial intelligence, and human insight. But perhaps you can say a little bit more about what it means for your customers, for AVEVA's customers here in the region, especially in terms of delivering value, because I think many companies out there, they hear these terms or these acronyms and they get a little confused, or what does it actually mean for me? So performance intelligence, what is it? What does it really mean for your customers?
Yeah, I would say in a nutshell, it's about offering strong context and deeper data-driven insights, right? By connecting, as I mentioned, information, which companies most of the time already possess. But what we do, we add on top of that a layer of artificial intelligence together with human insights. And that's the part we shouldn't skip, the human insights part. So the last 2 years, as we all know, unfortunately, have had a tremendous impact on industries, on people, on the way we work. And a lot of companies have really been forced to accelerate their digitalization plans. I would say where 5 to 6 years ago, digital transformation was something potentially optional on the roadmap of companies. Nowadays, it's a must. It's a matter of corporate survival. If you don't keep up, you risk being left behind or even going out of business. And the tricky part there is that while some businesses can react quickly, transform quickly, usually that's not the case for large industrial players, especially in industries like oil and gas. These companies have a much longer window that they need to decommission their assets, to replace their assets, and to replace them with digitally powered sustainable alternatives. And they have to measure that entire industrial life cycle, all these things they've been going through over the last many years, to develop asset management strategies to maximize that operational agility and resilience. And so teams managing these essential processes now, right, thanks to performance intelligence, they can tap into that rich, reliable data to measure, visualize that life cycle, but most important, to make better informed decisions and to take that decision and give it into the hands of potentially connected workers. And I'd like to highlight a couple of cases later on in this discussion. But one case I probably want to start by highlighting is, for example, GlaxoSmithKline, large pharmaceutical company. I was referring to this yesterday in a meeting, which is why it's the first one that comes to mind. So large pharmaceutical company, very important stakeholder in vaccine production, and they've been a major player in bringing to market the vaccines against COVID-19 at lightning speed. And we tend to believe that part of the reason they've been able to do that is because they were early adopters of the AVEVA system platform and PI system data management. And they've been using this for years to improve efficiencies across their vaccine manufacturing operations. But the combination of these solutions really gave them an integrated platform to optimize the supply chain management, which, as I mentioned, allowed them to become more agile. And when it became tricky about 2 years ago, they were able to respond very quickly.
Okay. And I see that AVEVA, in terms of positioning, I see that AVEVA now describes itself as a global leader in industrial software, driving digital transformation and sustainability. And I see that has changed in the last few years. But now you have this term of global leader in industrial software, digital transformation, sustainability. So for you, what does this mean at AVEVA, this term? And again, how do you articulate this to customers in the region?
Yes, and most customers and companies know us we've been around for 40 years, and they know us as being an industrial software provider. They also know us as a company that's been at the forefront of driving digital transformation, but what they probably haven't known us or don't associate us with is sustainability. And that's an important addition to how we like to position ourselves into the market. So sustainability is important, and we recognize that companies, software vendors, all software vendors, they have a very important role to play. Technology plays a role, and software definitely plays an important role. And that's no different at AVEVA, right? We take that responsibility very seriously, which is why we've really developed clear roadmaps that basically translate our solutions into solution sets that can now translate to sustainability improvements. Our biggest opportunity is what we call our handprint, which is basically how our software can enable and drive sustainability for industry. So we've built specific modules into our software which purely focus on reduction of carbon, emission reduction, energy management, wastewater management, etc., etc. So customers have direct access to these specific modules, and that's important because all of a sudden it opens up a lot of opportunities for companies that have sustainability high on their agenda, which I tend to believe are most. I'd like to give you an example because at the end of the day, numbers speak louder than words. For example, Henkel, which is a large chemical and consumer goods company, they're headquartered in Düsseldorf, Germany, not far from where I grew up, just across the border in Belgium. I know them quite well. And to support Henkel's sustainability commitments, what they've done is they've built a digital backbone, and that connects their entire global operations using AVEVA software in the cloud. So they've sensorized each site with about 3,500 sensors, and each of those provide about, give or take, 1.5 billion data points, which is a tremendous amount of data. And what they try to do with that is they try to optimize asset performance. And they've been able to massively cut their environmental footprint by about 1/3, which is what they claim. So at the moment, they use less energy, they use less water, they produce less waste, and they even say that this saving is growing by 16% a year. So.
Okay. Yes, I mean sustainability. I mean the ARC. We've seen that this has moved up to become an absolute priority for manufacturers and energy companies, and because of that, priority for industrial automation and software companies, which sounds like exactly what you're saying, a big focus at AVEVA on sustainability.
Absolutely true, Bob. Pretty much every engagement I have with people and companies, be it on the shop floor to executive meetings, one of the most, if I were to list the top 3 benchmarks being tracked by customers, either number 2 or number 1 is always sustainability. It's moved high up onto the agenda, and there's a big pressure to transform. Right? Businesses have reassessed their strategies and carbon footprints, and they do that, well, to do their part. They do that also to reap monetary awards, to lack being or risk being left behind. And part of these challenges were laid down by policymakers, right? For example, at COP26. So industrial transformation really requires enhanced visibility because these plant managers, just like doctors, just like surgeons, they can only improve what they can see clearly, monitor and measure. If they don't know about it, they can't react to this. And this is where we add value. For example, our digital twin solutions, they replicate the workings of machinery, they replicate the workings of equipment, and they highlight areas that work well, that don't work well, or that need improvement. And it's by adding up all these parameters together where companies can significantly reduce their sustainability or their carbon footprint, their water waste footprint, etc., etc. For example, at Shell, we've recently provided it's what we call engineering data warehouse technology. And this is a key building block of what we call the digital twin, because it enables them to have access to a common digital thread across the entire Shell's engineering and operations departments. And these technologies provided a way to deliver relevant information from one single source to all the critical decision makers across these critical functions. And at the end of the day, it enables Shell employees to conduct their operations not only remotely, but also faster, more accurate and reliable.
So certainly with digital transformation, we are seeing the deployment of many different and newer technologies like AI and AR, VR, IoT, cloud. And I see that at AVEVA, you have this product solution, AVEVA Connect, which you call your digital transformation hub. So perhaps you can tell us more, Boris, about AVEVA Connect and its role within the AVEVA technology portfolio.
True. So as before, we try to react to market demands, to industry needs, and this is not new, right? The requirement for cloud it's been building up for 5 to 7 years. And what we have at AVEVA is what we call AVEVA Connect, which is a common cloud platform. So it provides a central location to securely access this broad range of industry softwares that we have available. And we provide it as a software as a service, right? So it's basically consumption on demand. But at the end of the day, it's a flexible, powerful set of tools that can really turn opportunities into business value. And what it does, it removes organizational silos. It enables transparent collaboration, be it within a site, multi-site, multi-country, multi-continent. But at the end of the day, it's also important that these solutions are built for speed, and I think that's where AVEVA Cloud makes a big difference in the sense that it can be deployed extremely fast. It's easy to access. It provides contextualized information to make agile decisions. And at the end of the day, what companies need on top of that is this reduced total cost of ownership. And again, that's where working in the cloud can make a big difference.
Mm-hmm. I think another clear trend is this concept of the connected worker. Perhaps this is coming to focus more so since COVID-19. So how is AVEVA enabling companies to improve the connectivity of their workers and their teams?
True. So what we've seen again in the industry, and this has been building up over the last many years, but again these last 2 years during this pandemic, it's only accelerated this. People work more remotely. We also want to have less people into the fields. We try to put insight and data making decisions into the hands of what we call the connected worker. And the connected worker is basically that person that works on an oil platform, that works somewhere at a wastewater management facility. But we try to give those people access to data, but we try to give those people access to data in a readable way where they can take immediate decisions, because we have built in artificial intelligence into that. So it's these digital solutions that promote a wider collaboration. It provides them upskilling opportunities and connection to digital twins to gain access to that timely information. So I could probably highlight a dozen reference cases here, but what I'd like to do probably is give you more of an example that we see on a regular basis without linking it to a specific company. But you have to imagine there's an offshore oil rig somewhere in the middle of the ocean, quite remote. This is it's a huge asset, it's a huge plant. It's fairly well sensorized, right? IoT enabled with assets being monitored. And this monitoring can happen at the other end of the world. It could be a data monitoring center 10,000 miles away. Now, imagine there's a pressure leak somewhere at some place into that plant. And now that can lead to catastrophic events, as we all know. So it's picked up at this data monitoring center. So now it's a race against time. It's about how quick do you get that information to that connected worker that's working on that plant or on that oil rig. So that person could have access to a tablet or to a phone, an app, And it'll tell that person right away, well, look, what you need to do is you need to go to level 4, section B7, instrument panel 6, and that's where you've got your pressure leak. So now you've basically put that intelligence straight into the hand of that connected worker. So he can react immediately, can probably avoid downtimes or even worse things that can happen in cases like this. But then it's a matter, what do you do? Do you shut this off completely, which is a pretty brutal thing to do, because it can cause downtime or delays. Now, add to that data artificial intelligence. It might actually tell you the analysis that's done in real time. It might tell you, well, rather than shutting off the valve, lower the level from 7 to 3, right? And it'll eliminate the problem. So now you've put that intelligent data into the hand of the connected worker in real time, and you've saved time, you saved money, you might as well have saved lives.
Perhaps, Boris, we can talk about the region where we are, Southeast Asia, because I know that AVEVA has engaged in some interesting projects for Petronas in Malaysia and also for SCG Chemicals over in Thailand. Can you tell us more about these projects?
Sure. So these are two very important customers of ours, and they're massive companies, as you know. So Petronas, based in Malaysia, SCG Chemicals, large chemical company in Thailand. And not only did these projects that we did showcase their modernization ambitions, they were very important to us as well, because we want to get established into the region. Very often companies in Southeast Asia that are not that keen to understand what we're doing with Caltex or Shell or Suncorp in the US, for example, but they'd like to understand what we're doing more regionally, which is why this was very, very important. So to give you an example, last year we ran a pilot with Petronas, and that pilot involved 4 of their upstream platforms and 2 of their downstream plants. So they're producing about 2.4 million barrels of equivalent oil per day. And what the Petronas team wanted to do was to optimize their equipment performance to improve plant reliability, and most importantly, to reduce that downtime, just like the example I just gave you a second ago. And they've trialed the AVEVA asset performance management solution because it allowed them to accurately predict failures in advance, so they could do fixes beforehand and avoid shutdowns. We've deployed it on about 200 models, give or take, and the solution actually accurately identified about 51 major early warnings. Right? So these are warnings that could have resulted in catastrophes or costly downtimes, and they claim it's created a value of about 73 million ringgit, which is equivalent of about 18 million US dollars, and an ROI of about 14x. So now following this pilot, we're very excited because they decided to deploy our APM, asset performance management solution, to about 10 more plants with a total of about 150 equipment trains. So we're looking forward to that. You've mentioned SCG as well, and what they wanted to do was they wanted to create a platform to better predict equipment failure and unscheduled maintenance across all of their Thai and offshore plants. So they've used a mix of on-prem solution and cloud solutions to create what they call a digital reliability platform. And that was developed, which includes predictive analytics to monitor and detect machine abnormalities. It also featured what we call the enterprise asset management to enable advanced maintenance using offline data and entry, including work requests. And this digital reliability platform has made a significant difference for them. It's increased the plant asset reliability is increased from about 98% to 100%, which is an ROI again of about nine times. So these improved efficiencies have also driven down their maintenance costs by about 40% and reduced the plant maintenance costs by about 30%. Now, I'd also like to highlight a case in India, so the Indian Oil Corporation, and this is fairly new. This was announced only about a month back, and this one's a significant case for us as well, because Indian Oil it's the largest integrated energy companies in India, right? They have presence in oil, gas, petrochemicals, alternative energy. And we were selected at AVEVA after a long 2-year benchmark. We were selected to drive their digital transformation and sustainability efforts across 9 of their refineries. So our united supply chain will enable them to digitalize their refineries and naphtha cracker scheduling workflows, to optimize all the blend scheduling, and to meet those very challenging daily product dispatch plans, and provide an end-to-end visibility across their operations, which is now basically at the fingertips of any executive within IOCL.
Okay, so digital projects that you described in Malaysia, Thailand, and India, and now in 2022, I'm sure you'll be looking at more opportunities for business growth for the company. Perhaps you could give us an indication of where you're seeing those opportunities for 2022.
Yes, you're right, and for us it's all about gaining more footholds in a number of new, well, I wouldn't call them new industries, they're not new industries to AVEVA, but they're new industries for AVEVA in this part of the world, in South Asia and Southeast Asia. And I'm mainly referring to the power industry, for example. This is an important focal point for us. We're engaged with in a lot of benchmarks there. And as I mentioned earlier, this pandemic really accelerated this need for digital transformation for companies large and small. And I believe 2022 and onwards will be a crucial point for artificial intelligence in the industrial solutions. I was reading a recent Gartner report lately, and it estimates that the global AI spend will total about $62 billion in 2022. That's an increase of 21% year over year. But add to that the environmental benchmarks that were set at COP26. Whenever I speak to companies in India, this is high on their agenda. It's very important. And they want to embrace these new technologies to accelerate their net zero plans. So I'm nothing but very positive about the opportunities that 2022 and the future are going to bring us.
Yes, I think earlier in our conversation you mentioned that there's nowhere else you'd rather be right now, and what I sense coming across is that you certainly have a very exciting and fulfilling time in this region and at AVEVA. Would I be correct, Boris?
Absolutely. Every day brings its challenges, but they're challenges where we try to solve important problems for customers, and nothing gives me bigger pleasure than seeing these reference cases floating around the globe where companies openly state what type of productivity gains they've had thanks to our help.
Okay, and with that, I really want to thank you very much for your time today and telling us all about yourself, about the company, about some of your technologies, about your clients. I think it's been a very, very informative discussion, Boris.
Thank you, Bob. I really appreciate your time. It was great speaking to you. I look forward to connecting again in the future. And look, I think as I mentioned, 2022 is going to be a different one from 2021 and definitely 2020. I do believe we're at the tail end of this pandemic that we've seen over the last 2 years, and I think the sky is the limit going forward. Thanks for your time, Bob.
Sure, Boris. Yeah, and I'll be delighted to speak to you again on the ARC podcast in the future. And so, yes, we have been talking to Boris Marrone, Vice President and Head of South Asia and Southeast Asia at AVEVA. Do look out for future podcasts from ARC Advisory Group. So goodbye for now, and thank you very much.